Hey there, history people. Just coming at you with your Q&A for tonight. Thank you for sending in your feedback as always. And let's get down to it. Let's start talking about Quebec and the FLQ. So, this person writes, I believe that Trudeau was trying to stop the violence and protect the province. He might have went a little overboard with the military army, but perhaps at that time the police had no experience with these mobs or executing the Prime Minister. Not Prime Minister, the Deputy Premier. The military was more equipped in dealing with mobs. This is a very good point. But how is the province going to take the FLQ seriously when they kill their own kind, which was Pierre Laporte, a Deputy Premier of the province of Quebec? At this time I have to side with Trudeau because he had to make a point and he's in charge and not going to accept the killing. Also, in Toronto back in 1999, I remember reading about Mel Lastman, the mayor of North York and Toronto, bringing in the Canadian Army to just clean snow, so Trudeau was justified after all. So let's start with the Trudeau part. Trudeau at the time was essentially taking a hard line against these people, right? This wasn't a joke, right? The Deputy Premier is the second highest person in the provincial government, so if that kind of person is being kidnapped, then who knows what else might be happening, right? And plus they killed the guy, right? So this was a step too far, right? And that's why Pierre Trudeau went and did that, right? So I think this person makes a very good point about it. The point about Mel Lastman, that's a sort of a separate thing. I don't think, it's not like the military came in and arrested anyone when that happened. In 1999, there was like the biggest snowstorm ever, right? And the Canadian Army actually did come to Toronto to help clean up the streets. So that was an interesting experience, let's just say. So this person wrote, not Justin. Pierre. Justin's the son. Pierre is the father, right? So don't say Justin Trudeau when you mean Pierre Trudeau. But let's see. Pierre Trudeau had a really good idea that Canadians can stop the people in Quebec that's murdering and kidnapping other French people. Simple answer, sure, let's go with it. Yes, I think it was justified because he was hoping the Quebec country to not have kidnappings anymore and not be told over, so I think it was a good idea to send Candy Canadian? Okay. So did he work on some of this typing here? Candy Canadian? Candy? Send the Canadian Army to Quebec and to arrest people that were kidnapping and killing. So let me just go through some of the grammar here because I sort of need to. It was justified because he was hoping the Quebec country. Quebec is not a country, it's a province, right? So, and it would be the province of Quebec to not be kidnapping, but have kidnapping anymore and not be told. I don't know what you mean by that, so I'm just going to delete it, right? So let's be careful about those small things, right? Let's remember this is also an English class as well. But nevertheless, sure, this person agrees with Pierre Trudeau. This person writes, yes, because I think he was just trying to stop them and punish them for what they did. Very simple answer, sure. Could use a little bit more detail than that. But, well, let's go to this next one. In my opinion, generally, the War Measures Act Pierre Trudeau did not genuinely defend, because the crisis the administration confronted was not very huge and not the most serious, yet they went to the most genuine, extraordinary method for managing it. Ooh. What the government did to more than 450 innocent individuals is unpardonable and totally frightening. How might you or any other individual feel if out of nowhere police jump into your home, your home and state you are being arrested with no explanation, no reason, warrant, or even reasonable and legitimate treatment? Taking the act to the extreme they did was not justified and right under law, and must be glad that Canada has learned from its past slip-ups and is in a superior spot for it. So this is the alternate argument, right? Saying that essentially the government went too far. Right? It was just one person that got kidnapped. You didn't need to do this, right? So that's what people said about Pierre Trudeau in the past, and that's why this is still a very controversial episode of Canadian history, right? Where, you know, essentially you had Pierre Trudeau essentially turn us into a little military state for a little bit, right? I'm not going to say dictatorship because that's probably going too far, but he imposed martial law, right? And 450 people were arrested, and most of them were not charged, right? So that is something that you don't generally want to see happening in Canada, right? Regardless of anything else. Now, this person asks a very interesting question. France declared a hijab ban in 2011. After that, Quebec did the Hijab Ban Act, so it means Quebec is following France's rules and regulations. Excellent question and an excellent point. Yeah, Quebec is trying to be French, and Quebec is often very influenced by the things that are going on in France, right? This is what makes them so different from the rest of Canada, at least in this regard, right? Because France, after a major terrorist attack on one of their magazines, the Charlie Hebdo attacks, right, did take a lot of anti-Muslim measures, and Quebec has very much followed in their footsteps, right? So you can definitely see the influence there, right? That doesn't mean that France is saying to Quebec, ban the hijab, by the way, right? It's more that Quebec is like looking at France as a big brother or something like that, and they saw France do something, and very much they want to do the same sort of thing as France, right? Because they want to maintain their French identity. So I think this question hits the nail right on the head, right? Which is to say that many in Quebec want to be as French as possible, and so that means that there is an element in Quebec of trying to copy France, right? And the hijab ban is copying France, right? It's not so much, no Muslim was causing any trouble in Quebec, right? It's just that they saw it in France and they want to emulate their big brother over there, Big Brother France, right? So they're copying their big brother in that way. So very good question, by the way. That's a really good question. So the person who wrote that, good. Anyway, so those are the comments we have for today. If you have any other questions about the FLQ, then please send them my way. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the Canadian economy and the way our economy looks. So tune in for that, and I will see you again at that time.